$1 million pumped into the agriculture industry. No set date yet for resumption of night landing at Douglas Charles Airport as authorities continue restoration efforts there. Plus, the court extends an injunction pushing back the burial of a mother and child. I'm Jonathan Baptist of the Channel 5 News. Details coming up. First up, night landing at the Douglas Charles Airport will not be possible anytime soon. Government has addressed some safety issues to restore operations at the Marigot-based airport. Commercial flights were returned to the airport 3 weeks after Storm Erica. Still, the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority has not given the all-clear for night flight service at the country's main airport. Damage is in excess of $41 million.
Recently, you would have seen the fencing of the runway, but we have been able to get professional advice as to the external works we need to do to get the airport back how it used to be. As we speak, we have, of course, only daylight operation. We have to get to a point where we go back where we once was. That would require not only doing the external works like the apron, etc., river defenses, but there's some communication networks that we have to address, and the border security network, etc. These are internal issues that we have to deal with.
2 proposals are before government for the required external works at the airport.
Of concern as we go later in the year is the issue of lighting. Currently, the airport lighting was damaged. So we are also seeking proposals for the installation of the runway lighting. We have discussed the matter with the Aviation Authority, and we are proposing the installation of a solar lighting system that can be controlled by the air traffic people. So that is being worked on as a matter of urgency because of the limited flights that is now coming in at the airport. So beyond 5 o'clock, I think all flights have stopped because of the dark conditions.
As a result of flooding from Melville Hall River during Tropical Storm Erica, the runway, taxiway, apron, access roads, equipment stored in the airport's building, and fencing were damaged. Engineers have assessed the site and made recommendations to start construction of permanent works.
We have packaged the rehabilitation works in 2 phases. One will look at the fencing, the runway, the taxiway, apron, and the landside access roads. Phase 2 needs a bit more detailed intervention because of the dynamics of the Melville Hall River. It's a rather large river, and we need to assess the hydrology and the hydraulic capacity of the channel before we design the necessary interventions.
In other major developments, Ministry of Agriculture officials have revealed that over $1 million has been injected into the industry post-Erica towards recovery of the sector. The announcement was made at a signing ceremony between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Food and Agriculture Organization, where the FAO presented $300,000 on Friday. The money will focus on rehabilitation of feeder roads.
Some of these funds will go towards clearing and as far as possible to restore some of these trails. In some cases, I believe much more extensive work will be required on some of the trails because they are so damaged, badly damaged, that they have to be rerouted. So that will take a different type of project. So a greater assessment has to be done. But for the moment, for this emergency program with FAO, we are looking to clear access roads as the #1 priority.
He says these funds will help in the recovery of some of the farmlands affected by Erica. The ministry has also received other funds from ICA and Windfresh.
ICA, preliminary, they have put in, I think, $50,000 US. But ICA is a collaborating partner with the government and Ministry of Agriculture, and we are sure that more assistance will be coming. Windfresh contributed $1 million in terms of assistance.
1 million?
Yeah, 1 million post Erica for assistance.
He says other agencies such as CARDI have provided technical assistance and AFIA with their donations of animal feed. Gist says part of the contribution from the FAO will go towards assistance to the fisheries department.
At least $3.1 million damage was done to the fisheries sector in terms of fishermen having lost their boats, engines, fishing gear, and tackle. And some of the fishermen have bounced back. They have been able to obtain some of the tackle, those who did not lose their boats. Some of them whose boats were damaged and they could be repaired, they have already done their own repairs. But however, there is a package of assistance that is being put forward to the government for assistance to fishermen.
Mr. Gates was happy to report that the agriculture industry is recovering quickly from the passage of the storm and exports have not been threatened. On the court scene, High Court Judge Bernie Stevenson on Friday extended an injunction until Friday, October 30, 2015, preventing the burial of the late Lisa Peter of Portsmouth and her dead baby. More in this report.
The court had granted an injunction until Friday, October 23, pending an independent autopsy being conducted by an overseas-based pathologist. However, by the time the court order was served, an autopsy was conducted, infuriating Michael Peter, the father of the deceased. The judge said that the court considered it necessary that the claimant be given the opportunity to have the body examined and for a possible further autopsy. The parties, the Chief Medical Officer, the Medical Director, and the Office of the Attorney General were all represented in court in order to deal with the matter. After hearing Tiani Behanzin, counsel for the claimant, Tamika Hyacinth Burton with Mrs. Joanne Xavier Coffey for the defendants, and Heather Felix Evans on behalf of the mother of the deceased, Justice Stevenson ordered the following. The claimant filed documents unsigned with the undertaking that the documents will be filed and served on or before 8:30 Monday, 26 October. The claimant will file and serve all documents duly signed on or before the 27th October 2015.
In health, establishing a glaucoma center on island is a vision of a team of eye care experts conducting research on glaucoma patients' hair. The West Virginia University Eye Institute has started a 5-year program which offers laser treatment for glaucoma, which will eliminate the use of eye drops for the patient. Professionals from that institution will be making frequent trips to see patients with glaucoma on island.
We have found that this specific procedure we do in the States, it's already approved there. We do it here and get a much better result, a whole different set of side effects. So we're trying to decide what in people of African descent, what is in their eyes that give us such good response to this laser treatment. Because if we can figure that out, then it can change the way glaucoma is treated in the whole world. It is not curing them. It is controlling their eye pressure without the need for drops. So one procedure that would last 10 minutes compared to putting drops in every day.
St. Lucia was the first Caribbean island the project was introduced to.
After we did the research there for 4.5 years and had such wonderful results, we needed to prove that it wasn't just a fluke on St. Lucia. So we came to Dominica because you folks are the most comparable, yes, with St. Lucia. We started seeing patients in January, and we will be here for 5 years. We'll be back in 6 weeks to do post-op care on everybody that had laser treatment this time. And then in January, we'll see everybody again. And then starting in January, we will be here every 3 months for the 5 years to take care of them, to make sure everything's well. We brought our own lasers in. We have 2 of them here. And Dr. Shillingford Ricketts has been kind enough. We use her office here.
West Virginia University Eye Institute is a nationally recognized center for vision care, research, education, and outreach. They have vowed to work with community stakeholders, the health authorities, and eye care providers in various places to ensure laser treatment continues for Dominicans.
The long-term goal is to make sure that the resources and the expertise to continue to offer laser treatment to glaucoma patients in Dominica is here when we are gone. Our plan is to first develop and prove the effectiveness of laser. And then once we've done that in St. Lucia, here and elsewhere, we will begin to establish glaucoma laser centers throughout the world where they are most needed. And we will make sure that the technology is on site. I don't own the company that makes the lasers. They are a for-profit company. I work for a university. But we will work with all of the stakeholders involved to find ways to make that as financially possible as we can.
70,000 euros has been donated towards the rehabilitation of 2 primary schools in Dominica.
This was the amount raised thus far through efforts of the Dominica Guadeloupe Solidarity Committee following the passage of Tropical Storm Erica. Tropical Storm Erica damaged school buildings, road networks, and water systems, delaying the start of the school year. The majority of schools opened by late September, but the initial opening date was earlier in the month.
2 of our schools in particular, the Dalis Primary and the Soufrière Primary, while not completely destroyed, have been seriously affected, and in both cases will require considerable amounts to return operations to normal. Access to the Dalis Primary School has been seriously compromised, and the roof requires repairs that, as of now, makes it impossible for class to resume at the school plant. In fact, the Dalis Primary School is now housed at the Dalis Youth Center.
Despite the severe damage caused to the Soufrière Primary School, classes are still being held in that building.
At the Soufrière Primary School, the heavy rains of Tropical Storm Erica caused silting of the classrooms and eroded the school's retaining wall. Also inflicted serious damage to the fencing. In fact, I've been advised that a new retaining wall will have to be looked at, and that will increase security and decrease the school's vulnerability in the event of inclement weather.
The Guadeloupe-based association will continue to provide assistance to schools in Dominica while the country recovers from the ravages of Tropical Storm Erica.
We raised 20,000 euros thanks to the actions we took and thanks to donors as well. We also received 50,000 euros from the collectivity of St. Bart. And this money will only be dedicated to reconstruction for these 2 schools. The students in Guadeloupe also wanted to help Dominica. So I can already say that a school will be able to supply part of the furniture for one of the schools. And we are working with other partners in order to collect even more.
The Dominica Guadeloupe Solidarity Committee forms part of the Guadeloupe-based association Coreca, which has also provided tangible goods towards Dominica's recovery efforts. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
You're watching Channel 5 News. Coming up, sports and your weekend weather. Thanks for staying with us. The small business sector received assurances Friday that government is working on a post-Erica strategy for the small business sector. Over 50 small businesses were represented at the 2nd annual Creole in the Streets Trader Exposition in Roseau on Friday.
There's a cabinet subcommittee on the private sector, and that committee has been appointed to review the assessments of the sector and to make recommendations for the support in the rebuilding and recovery process. So don't lose hope, don't lose heart. The government is in fact working behind the scenes and will come to your rescue as soon as the technocrats and the policymakers can come up with the right strategy for giving the sector the much needed support that it requires in a post-tropical storm Erica period.
I must, at this juncture, highlight the need for greater partnership and refining of the services we offer to SME. Here, I wish to speak of the need for us to work more feverishly to establish a small business development center to offer SMEs a one-stop shop for obtaining support, for strengthening the marketability of their products and services. Rest assured of our commitment to this initiative.
The event was described as an exercise that's mutually beneficial to businesses of every size.
Together, we as a nation, as a people, can achieve our dreams and aspirations despite the challenges around us. They will always be there. However, we have to use our creativity to overcome them. This is a demonstration that the stronger can play the role of pulling up the weaker and smaller and benefit from a symbiotic relationship.
Business owners were also reminded that marketing was not an option or afterthought, and business owners need to make a deliberate decision to promote their products and services, but also ensure that they know that product.
What are the attributes of your product? I mean, what are the unique selling points of that product? Customers are looking for more than just the core product. They want other things in that product. Sometimes we have a challenge in terms of consistency of our product. We may produce an item very good today and tomorrow we have a different quality. If we are producing, let us say, a beverage, there must be consistency in terms of the product that we offer to the customer or the consumer. And sometimes we have challenges in those areas because Dr. John probably will tell you, we have not really defined what our product is. What constitutes that product?
Lime is the gold sponsor of this year's Creole in the Streets. In related news, the National Development Fund of Dominica, Creole in the Street trade show, welcomed a few new young entrepreneurs on the scene who are already offering their products in other countries. The Creole in the Street Trade Expo saw over 50 participants this year with entrepreneurs from all markets. Grayson John is the regionally award-winning proprietor of Big G Peppers with over 21 different flavors of pepper sauces. He started his business just over 8 months ago.
Since people getting accustomed with the product and starting to be aware of where the product coming from and it's not an imported product, so that is what people was like normally thinking, like the product is an imported product because they don't expecting that kind of quality of product to be produced in Dominica.
Delbert Paris is another young entrepreneur who runs a regionally recognized company called Domtech Waterproofing Solutions.
Given the Dominican environment that we have, everybody knows the experience that we have with rainfall. And almost every one of us in Dominica suffer with some sort of adverse environment when it comes to rainfall. We've just witnessed Tropical Storm Erica. What Domtech is able to provide to our clients and our prospective customers in Dominica is a way to solve your problem with leaks.
Matt George is the creator of Cape Tant Virgin Coconut Oil, which is already available on the UK market and online.
You have to market a lot to get your name out there, but when people know and know you have a good product, they'll come back. It's all about that, really. I enjoyed the journey. I used to live in the UK myself, and my mum was here, so I'd get her to send them to me, and I'll sell them from there. And it's online as well, so we sell them off our website here and in the UK. So yeah, it's all about just progressing.
The Creole in the Street Trade Expo was held on Great Marlborough Street for the entire day on Friday. In more news, business persons in the creative arts industry are now better able to source funding through innovative means.
This was the aim of a two-day workshop organized by the OACS Competitive Business Unit, CBU, targeting individuals in the artistic industry. The crowdfunding and social media marketing consultation served as a means of sensitizing entrepreneurs on methods to further develop their business through increased funding. These two aspects are among several areas to be examined as part of the Electronic Government for Regional Integration Project, EGRIP, within the OACS.
Crowdfunding is an activity geared towards assisting those who can, basically help themselves, but work with the crowd to help them. We're also going to be looking at social media marketing. We have looked at several areas other than crowdfunding and social media marketing. We've also looked at legislation, which is critical for the OACS islands. Several countries have embarked on harmonizing the legislation through the project, the EGRIP. Dominica has been one of the first countries to take on some of these pieces of legislation. So we do have some pieces of legislation that enables us to be able to do transactions online.
The need for crowdfunding sensitization is the result of an assessment carried out earlier this year.
We found out that there are certain areas that we need to focus on. One of the areas that we decided was e-payments. We recognize that the status of e-payments within the OECS is a bit lacking. We find that there has been some difficulties in small to medium-sized enterprises basically being able to access their funds. So we're looking very closely at what we can do at the OECS Commission to assist. We also recognize that access to financing for small to medium-sized enterprises is also an issue among our territories.
A Barbados-based consultant was on island to facilitate the two-day workshop geared at educating individuals on the benefits of crowdfunding and social media marketing.
If I'm seeing a challenge, I can do two things. I can either see the challenge, go on a radio talk show and complain, or see the challenge, create a business and solve it. I chose the latter. And that is where we get the Vision Funder, where we have created a regional crowdfunding platform with the purpose of allowing Caribbean entrepreneurs, creative artists, scientists, inventors, students for that matter, to raise money for their businesses, their causes, their ventures, by pooling together our funds together as a region and making things happen.
All OECS territories are to profit from these workshops, which aim to help small and medium-sized enterprises raise funds through innovative online platforms.
While concerns about environmental risks due to stagnant water and debris in Collioure resident yards are being alleviated. This as cleanup efforts there are at an all-time high. Nichols Esprit, who says he's been the caretaker of that constituency in the post-Erica recovery, told us the recent cleanup exercise has been excellent.
Since the passage of Tropical Storm Erica, the PALREP is not present to be on ground, so the Prime Minister assigned me to stand in the recovery effort in the Collioure constituency. The cleanup effort is actually reclaiming what used to be the riverbed and removing the debris in people's yard and people's home. We have set up a team with about 15 men at any one point in time. They're responsible for cleaning drains, culverts, and people's yard. The elderlies who can't help themselves, they're responsible for doing that. We have 2 excavators as we speak, one in the river, dredging the river, and another cleaning the yards and the roads in the village.
Channel 5 News made 2 trips to Collioure in September, our last being following heavy rain which caused the river to overflow its banks and enter people's yards. Now, more than 50% of debris has been cleared from the village. What about the debris that has been cleared and is sitting at a particular location facing the coast? What will happen to this debris?
We had last week or week before, people from the planning division came. They looked at what was being done and they were satisfied. What we're doing is we're dumping it here, and then we have the bulldozer, as you can see, pushing it and leveling it off. The people from physical planning said they are okay if it doesn't pose any harm or any danger, whether environmental or otherwise, to the area.
And despite complaints from other parts of the island about a shortage of heavy equipment, Esprit says they don't have that issue.
I remember you meaning mapping, had a story of water still going back in a home when the river was in small floods. I can safely say that that area and that threat is no longer because of the excavation.
The long-term plan now, as it relates to the imminent threat of flash floods for Collioure, has that been mapped out?
It is a work in progress, naturally, because the Ministry of Public Works would be looking at future flooding, the magnitude, the river basin, the hydrology of the river and the river basin, and then map out the best possible solution to preventing such occurrence in the future.
Up next is the sports highlights with Kenny Williams.
First up in cricket, West Indies lost to Sri Lanka when Sri Lanka scored 200 all out for 66 overs in the first innings of their second test against West Indies. Siri Wardner scored 68 runs, hitting 6 fours and 2 sixes for Sri Lanka. Warrican took 4 of Sri Lanka's wickets and Brathwaite contributed 47 for West Indies to bring them 163 all out in 64.2 overs. Sri Lanka scored 76 for 2 in 31 overs to lead the test by 113 runs with 8 wickets remaining. Meantime, Pakistan scored 378 all out after 118.5 overs. Mazbaulak was out LBW after he contributed 102 runs for Pakistan. Ali and Wood claimed the most wickets for England, claiming 3 each. England replied with 148 for 3 in 42.2 overs. Cook was caught by Ahmed after he contributed 65 runs for his team. England now trail by 230 runs with 7 wickets remaining in the first innings. In more cricket now, a local cricket club donates $2,000 and 11 cartons of water in aid of relief efforts for people in the Kulibistri area. The Somerset Sports Club of St. Joseph, along with its sponsor Sagicor General Insurance, donated $2,000 to the Kulibistri Monrachet Village Council in an attempt to accelerate cleanup of debris in the community on Wednesday. The presentation took place at Somerset House in St. Joseph, where the money, along with 10 cartons of water, were presented by the club president, Ambrose Sylvester, to chairman of the village council Mr. Erickson Robinson. Additionally, 1 carton of water was donated to a member of the club from Monrachet, who is a student at the Dominica Grammar School.
The club mandated me as president to liaise with the chairman of the village council, Kulibistri Monrachet Village Council, to ascertain what his priorities were. In terms of a needs assessment, what exactly his priorities were, what he think was most pressing at the moment. And in discussion with him, he said he really wanted to clean up the place. He said that was his main area, to clean up the place. There were a number of guys who had been volunteering, but after a while, you know, their energies are going to give up. And I think what he, in fact, told me is that some of the guys said, well, Robbo, we are willing to continue, but we need something.
On to football now. The secondary schools football championship starts Friday. Teams will clash at Benjamin's Park in Portsmouth from 2 p.m. and the Portersville Savannah from 3:30 p.m. These teams include Portsmouth Secondary School, Isaiah Thomas Secondary, Pierre Charles Secondary, and the Dominica Grammar School. Results of these matches to be given in a future sportscast. Meantime, Benjamin's Park and Windsor Park Sports Stadium will see some football action this weekend as Week 4 of the DFA Premier League continues. In other sporting events, 4 games of rounders to be played this weekend as round 2 of the National Rounders League begins. Let's take a look at Sunday's games. Stowe & Co. Hard Hitters versus AGS Dynamic Stars at Pottersville, Dubique Strikers versus Maxroy Conquerors at St. Joseph, and Loda Lake Stars versus St. Joe Phoenix at Loda. All matches are expected to begin at 12 p.m. Results of Sunday's matches will be given in a future sportscast. Slamming down in domino. The finals of the Roslyn Paul Domino League will commence on Sunday at June's Bar in Tebow. Valley Vibes of Paybush will come up against One Case of Dodan at 2 p.m. Results of that match will be given in an upcoming sportscast. That's all the time we have for sports. Join us next time.
Week number 4 in the DFA Line Premier League will see 2 double headers this weekend. On Saturday, defending champions Caribbean FM Football Club and Caribbean Cool Harlem United, fresh
The weather report
is last weekend.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. We'll start off this evening with Hurricane Patricia. This system is located in the eastern Pacific, not in our area, and is expected to make landfall on the southwest of Mexico sometime tonight. At 200 miles per hour, Patricia is the fastest intensifying hurricane and the strongest hurricane on record in the Western Hemisphere. We'll now move on to our neck of the woods, and we'll start off with infrared satellite imagery. Instability continues to linger across the Les Antilles, and these conditions are expected to continue over the next few days. Moving on now to today's visible satellite imagery, which showed partly cloudy to cloudy skies across Dominica during the course of the day. Meanwhile, radar imagery indicated showers and thunderstorm activity by afternoon. Tonight's weather is expected to be partly cloudy to cloudy with scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. And tomorrow, partly cloudy skies are expected during the morning with an increase in cloudiness, shower and thunderstorm activity by afternoon. Sea conditions tomorrow will be slight to moderate in open water, with waves peaking near 5 feet. However, a frontal boundary to the north of the Caribbean is generating some swells into the area. As a result, small craft operators and sea bathers, particularly on the western and northern coasts, are advised to exercise some caution. And looking ahead, an upper level trough is expected to move across the Les Antilles over the weekend, and as a result, increased cloudiness, showers and thunderstorm activity are expected into Monday. And across the Les Antilles tomorrow, thunderstorm activity is expected across the central and southern portions of the chain, while partly cloudy to cloudy skies with scattered showers are expected across the leewards. And on the international scene tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies are expected in New York, partly cloudy skies in Miami, there's a chance of rain in London and Beijing, and thunderstorm activity in Caracas. The sun will rise tomorrow at 5:59 a.m. and will set at 5:40 p.m. For further information, visit our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good night and a great weekend. That's news. To end the news, the headlines again. $1 million pumped into the agriculture industry. No set date yet for resumption of night landing at Douglas Charles as authorities continue restoration efforts there. Plus, the court extends an injunction pushing back the burial of a mother and child. Let us know what you think. Email us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on Marpin's YouTube page. On behalf of the production team, I'm Donathan Baptist. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend.